We have dental assistants out there that are looking to go to a new dental practice, trying to switch in their career.
ChatGPT can help you to write a resume.
How do we make sure that this sounds like us and that you as a recruiter can really see my personality?
You want it to be something that you can talk about everything on it and not be, oh, I didn't realize that ChatGPT put that in there. That doesn't go well with a recruiter. If that's not how you write, how you talk, or how you communicate, then it's going to come across when you're in an interview. The more interested you are and the more you're finding out about these practices, it benefits you. It makes you look more professional.
Hey everybody, welcome back into another edition of the Dental Assistant Nation podcast. My name is Kevin Henry, founder of Dental Assistant Nation, as well as the editor-in-chief for drbycuspid.com. Thrilled today to be talking to a dear friend of mine from the great state of Ohio, and that is Lisa Newburger. Hey Lisa, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Kevin. I'm doing great.
Good. I'm glad to reconnect with you. You and I have worked together during the days of dental economics, and I'm really glad that we get this chance to talk about a really hot topic. Before we dive into it, I want people to know how awesome you are and a little bit more about you.
Oh, and I can tell you all about how awesome I am. So
Well, there you go. So
basically,
there's the podcast. See, we're done.
here's the podcast. It's good to go. So basically, I've actually known Kevin for about 14 years. I have written over 300 articles for Dentistry IQ and MJH Life Sciences and Dental Products Report, and the list goes on. I was also running a national mastermind group for the last 3 years where we brought a seat at the table for everybody from front office staff to dental assistants to the dentists and specialists. So that was really rewarding. And for the last 3 years, I have been recruiting for a dental practice and have learned a lot of things along the way that we thought might be useful to your viewers.
I think that absolutely will be, and I'm excited to dive into it. Let's talk about those last 3 years because I'm really curious. Some of the things that whenever you were recruiting for dental practices, we have dental assistants out there that are looking to go to a new dental practice, maybe looking to move to the front desk, maybe they're trying to switch in their career. And I'm curious what stood out to you, both good and bad, about some of those resumes that came across your desk.
Well, let's start with the challenges.
Okay.
So, first of all, a lot of dental practices do not have an applicant tracking system. So, that's the software that goes behind if you were applying in a different industry to a big company. That's how they're able to manage all the applicants and screen through things. But even so, even though your dental practices tend not to have that, some of the things that hold true for those applicant tracking systems would benefit you in this regard as well, which is don't put a picture of yourself on your resume. I mean, it might be a really cute picture and it might be a glamour shot, but I literally had a dental hygienist who was hugging a tree. Now, I'm not really quite sure what the tree had to do with dental hygiene, other than, if you don't clean your teeth, it's like picking teeth. I don't know. Don't go there. But the pictures don't go through those systems. And, you're looking to get hired for your skill set and your talents and experience, not necessarily how one looks. The other piece is to not necessarily put color on a resume because again, these applicant tracking systems they don't spit it out. It just doesn't work. So when it comes to looking at your resume, to keep in mind, and you can Google or ChatGPT, that ChatGPT can help you to write a resume. And so there's certain formats that people are using. So it's not like I'm talking to Kevin or an old friend where I can just be very relaxed and laid back. There's specific things that they are looking for in finding someone, whether it's a front office staff to transition from a dental assistant or to go from graduating high school or graduating a program and becoming a dental assistant. Those would be like the two key things is to Google and look at what the standardized type of resumes are out there. And the other
Okay.
side is when you're writing a resume, a job description, the first couple bullet points on a job description are the must haves. So this is what we're looking for. If you don't have it, you might be able to talk your way into it because of the shortage right now, but probably not. But that language, you can actually embed it into your own resume. Copy and paste is a fun tool.
Well, I've got to ask something real quick because you talked about ChatGPT, and I know that that's what AI is one of the hot things right now. Are cover letters still a thing anymore? And if so, does ChatGPT help us with cover letters, or should we let it help us with cover letters?
So for me as a recruiter, I love cover letters. Why? Because it gives you more information. So if your personality comes across in it, your professionalism, make sure you spell check. Your typos come across in it too. So that's pretty critical if you're going to be a front office person and you're going to be handling money coming in or any types of specific transactions. But ChatGPT right now is something that is a tool. It's not going to replace humans at this moment in time. Talk to me in 6 months. But right now, so anything that you are writing or having ChatGPT help you with, you have to go back and you have to edit because it's not there, the perfection and necessarily what you want to get across. And when you're putting together a resume, you want it to be something that you can talk about everything on it and not be, oh, I didn't realize that ChatGPT put that in there. That doesn't go well with a recruiter.
I could
But it's
see that.
coming. It's coming down the road. And so even when it comes, I mean, you got to think about this just like even kids in school who are trying to use AI to write their papers. If that's not how you write, how you talk, or how you communicate, then it's going to come across when you're in an interview or when you get hired somewhere. And if you can't produce like you did just trying to get in the door, it's something to be aware of.
So I've got to ask you because you talked about the personality coming through and how important that is. And yet we're talking about how AI can help us write letters and everything. What's the balance in there? How do we make sure that this sounds like us and that you as a recruiter can really see my personality, even if it's on a piece of paper?
Well, I would recommend reading it out loud to yourself. So when you have ChatGPT, and some of you'll go, wow, that's really good. I sound really, really professional that way with all the buzzwords and everything. But you also, when you hear it, it's one thing when you write something and you edit it, sometimes you might miss typos or something, but when you speak it out loud, you're able to catch up on some of those things. So that's one of the things that I would recommend because, again, listen, I can go to ChatGPT and I have done this. We're desperate for dental hygienists here in Northeast Ohio. I have put into ChatGPT, help me, how do I recruit? What are great ideas to find dental hygienists? And
Sure.
a billion come out, and I'm like, oh, I've done that. I'm actually really good at my job. And then I will type in be more creative, be more, dig deeper. And all of a sudden, there are some things that are like, wow, I never thought of axe throwing parties as a way to recruit from the kids who are in school, sorry, the professionals who are in dental school to be able to hook them in and go, that's a really cool event. I could bring my friend and then let's start that relationship so that way when they graduate, maybe we can grab them for an internship or for hire. So it's starting to think outside the box where that technology will help us when it comes to recruiting or being able to evaluate people's personalities. I mean, some of you, I'm sure, have taken like a predictive index or a 5 minute assessment. And the one thing I can recommend, because I've been trained in predictive index, do not try to game the system. Just try to answer it as honestly as possible and do not overthink how you're answering because
Okay.
there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. They're looking at will you be a right fit for the company? So, for example, if you end up, oh, we want this kind of person, and your whole team is, well, rigid deadlines. This has to be completed on time. But then my mom needs to go to the hospital and has a heart attack. Are you going to be, oh, Lisa, finish your work and then go? Or Lisa, we will take over. You just go.
Yeah.
If everybody is deadline, 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 you may not want your entire practice to have that same personality and you might want some more balance.
And again, we're on with Lisa Newburger talking about some hiring tips and tricks, especially for those of you who are preparing your resumes, maybe for other dental practices or maybe the next step in your career. So, Lisa, here's a big question for you. How important in your mind is experience? We hear that so often that with the hiring crisis right now that people are being hired for jobs and they're learning on the fly. What are you seeing out there about that?
In 3 years, pretty much 10 hours a week for this three location dental practice, I've been able to see a couple waves come through with the recruiting. So earlier on, it's a job hopper. They don't stay anywhere in any aspect of recruiting. We don't presume people are hopping jobs because practices close, people merge, there's changes and transitions. And so we have to find out, what is behind it. So that isn't as crucial as it was previously. Yet I will encourage people, you do want to stay at a place for at least a year or two because it shows longevity, and certain roles like a front office person, it takes a while to onboard someone and for them to become really good at their job. And then if they're gone, the practice suffers because now you have to onboard and have that learning curve again for the next person. So that piece is pretty important, I think, also. But I don't remember the rest of your question, so don't
That's
get
that's
old either.
that's all good. You nailed it. So see, you're hired. There you go. Let me ask you about a trend I hear about all the time, and I want to see how you dealt with it and if it happened to you. Ghosting. Was there often an interviewee who didn't show up for an interview? And if so, what kind of a mark does that leave on that person if they don't even have the courtesy to call and say, "I'm not going to make this because dot dot dot."
Oh, no one's ever ghosted me, Kevin. They all show
No
up
one
because
ever.
of this personality. No, the ghosting problem is off the charts. And I will say, in all due fairness, for companies nowadays too, that it goes both ways. So for people who are applying for jobs and they're like, God, nobody ever responded. They have these posts for a dental assistant and I didn't hear from anybody. Sometimes it's human error, if you would believe that, so that when recruiters are on the back end with like Indeed, they may think that they have toggled that in 3 days you will automatically receive a rejection, but they might not have. And there's some practices and some businesses that will not allow me to reject someone until the position's been filled and the person's in the spot. So,
Okay.
because otherwise, I have said that just from people applying until screening with me, I probably lose 40%. And then from me to the hiring manager, who within 24 hours is interviewing them, we lose another 30%. So if you're talking 70% don't even make it through the process, and then we do an observation for, like 2 or 3 hours to see them in the field and to see how they connect well with the rest of the colleagues. But then do they show up for the first day of work? So in answer to your question, what I do as a recruiter, if you ghost us, I enter it into Indeed. Now, no, Indeed is not seeing it for every job you apply. It's just for my client because we will not waste our time. And I do have frequent flyers, as I call them, who apply 5 times, easy apply. Every dental practice has smile or dental in it. So people are completely confused where they've applied. But we will not even consider because you're absolutely right. Our time's valuable and it costs money to be able to screen and do the hiring process. So yeah, my point to your audience is have the decency to at least send me a rejection. Say, Lisa, I'm not interested. I took another job. Just say it. Or what I'm finding too, Kevin, is people when they have a crisis in their family, somebody got sick, somebody died, just, when you're able, it's not a mark against you if, okay, you stood me up, but then in a couple days you reach out and say, Lisa, I'm so sorry, we had a death. That just happened actually for one of my clients. That's fine. Life happens. And any place that you want to work is going to have to be considerate and respectful of that. But it's never too late if you've ghosted, ever too late to let them know.
So we've talked a little bit about some of the mistakes, shall we say, that happen with the resume. Let's say they get through to that interview process and sitting face to face or sitting on Zoom, however that is done. What's one thing that my dental assistants need to make sure that they do right during that interview process? Is it just simply be themselves and answer questions honestly?
Dress appropriately.
There you go. That too. Okay.
I literally have had feedback. Please don't let them show up in flip flops. So, okay, you would presume that people would think that, respectful dress, conservative, but sometimes trends have changed and people might feel differently. So, and I say this in a flip manner, but it really isn't, which is that how you present walking in to the room, whether it is turning on a Zoom call or in person, people are sizing you up. And so
Yeah.
you want to come across as professional. You can take notes. You can say, hey, Kevin, is it okay if I take notes while we're talking? Because you're interested. Make sure you do your due diligence and go online. Look at the website. Look up, a lot of practices have in the news or blogs or different information. Read up on it and have some questions about the practice. Like, oh, your practice does sedation dentistry. Is that the majority of the practice, or are you guys also doing, the cosmetic and the other
Mhm.
pieces? So the more interested you are and the more you're finding out about these practices, it benefits you. It makes you look more professional.
So do your homework. I love that. Absolutely. I think that's a very big thing.
Join us at CE on the Beach, June 26th to 28th, 2025, at the stunning Westin Grand Cayman Resort and Spa. This is the ultimate destination event for dentists, teams, coaches, and speakers. Save your spot now and get $150 off with promo code KHENRY. Visit ceonthebeach.com to register today.
So I feel like we could talk for hours about this, but I want to make sure that we are conscious of our listeners' time here. So if they have questions, if there's something we didn't touch upon, they'd love to just ask you and pick your brain a little bit. How's a good way to learn more about you or to reach out to you about that?
I'll make it real easy. When you're a recruiter, I have like 5 or 6 emails. Companies give me their own signature keys, so you look legit. But I'll just encourage you. The email that I will get back to you the quickest would be my name, Lisa Newburger, the number 1 at gmail.com. And actually, let me piggyback that. When you have an email address that you are using for interviewing, just Gmail is free. Go put your name and a Gmail account and just have one maybe for your job search, because people will put muscleman123 at yahoo.com. And I'm not joking. There are some very entertaining ones, but from a recruiter standpoint and a hiring manager standpoint, it's easier to remember your name and the number 1 or whatever you put down
Sure.
than muscle man, with a number after it.
Yeah. I don't appreciate you giving out my email address, but hey, it's all right. So anyway, Lisa, you're always great to give advice. And that's one thing I've loved about working with you through the years. And I really appreciate you being on today and helping our dental assistants, because I know a lot of them are thinking about that next step. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Listen, we always appreciate the folks who are in the trenches who are doing the heavy lifting, and that is our dental assistant audience.
Well, and thanks to all of you who listened to this episode of the Dental Assistant Nation podcast, or if you've watched us on YouTube or drbycuspid.com. Appreciate that so much. And until next time, it is Kevin Henry, the founder of the Dental Assistant Nation, editor-in-chief for Dr. Bicuspid, as always, signing off and wishing you nothing but success ahead.